Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Brendan Rodgers picks up the Premiership Manager of the Month award for April. The Championship Manager of the Month is St Mirren's Jack Ross. Billy King signs for Dundee United on a pre-contract. That's just a few of the talking points on tonight's programme. Lots to discuss. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. I'm delighted to say our bookroom guest tonight is Dumbarton manager Stevie Aitken, after successfully keeping the Suns in the Championship, and delighted that he's here. We'll look back over Dumbarton's campaign, talk about the highs and the lows, but lots to get through, especially on the back pages. Let's have a look at the papers. The Daily Record is our first port of call to look at some of the headlines, and as far as the Record's concerned, I think it's all dominated by the betting, which I think everybody's been talking about, and over and above that there's a wake-up call for Pedro Caixinha for a number of players. This includes Michael O'Halloran, Harry Forrester and Rob Kiernan. As far as the Sun's concerned, again they're focusing on the betting scandal and the Annan chairman. 4,000 bets we're talking about there. And also over and above that, into the Daily Mail, we've got the FIFA probe the Pogba deal. This is because of the huge amount of money paid to the agent, and the Courier focuses on, as you would expect, Dundee United's win over Morton at Capello last night. That's just a few of the headlines. Ruffy, first port of call on the Record there. Clearly Pedro Caixinha has decided to make changes. Clint Hill gone, Senderos gone as well, and some players that are going to have to fight for the future. If you're in at 6 AM in the morning, clearly the manager doesn't think you're fit enough.
No, and that's the way it is. And we heard Brendan Rodgers at the weekend there talking about body mass and everything. That's the modern day football, and if you don't come up to scratch, then you have to do a bit of extra. I wouldn't have thought O'Halloran would have been overweight. It doesn't look overweight to me. So I think maybe he's trying to get a point across. You know, obviously the wee things that were happening when he never turned up for the game. But players have got to deal with that. They've got to say to themselves, right, do I want to be a good club, or can I find somewhere else? So I think a lot of them should be grateful that they are there and given a chance. And if the manager thinks that extra training is what you need, then you do it.
Yeah, just with that in mind though, Stevie, I've seen quite a few thin people who are not fit.
No, you're right. As Ruffy said, I mean, to be a top player now, you need to be an athlete first and foremost, and if that means your body fat has to be down at 8, 7, 8, 9%, then it's got to be that. Different ways you can get your fitness. 6 o'clock in the morning, is that the right way to go and do it? Obviously, Pedro thinks that is, getting them in early doors and getting them working, so the players just have to go on with that, you know, and if that's what the work schedule's going to be, they have to deal with it. Yeah,
I think the cull has started as well, Ruffy. Clint Hill, maybe you just don't know how much money he's got at his disposal, but he's, I mean, Senderos was an absolute shoo-in to go out the door.
Yeah, well, it's obvious. The two players got a contract. They're the easiest one to move on, you know. But as we discussed the other day, there are a large number that were brought in by the previous manager who are on 2- and 3-year contracts, and I would hazard a guess at reasonable money they can't get elsewhere. In modern day football, the footballer seems to be money orientated, and unless you offer them something better to move on, then you've got a problem, because a lot of them just sit there with no ambition to actually get on the park.
Okay, the other story which is gathering pace, and I think that it's one of these situations where the SFA have to be seen to be acting, and there's clearly an investigation going on throughout the whole of the game. This is, of course, Henry McClelland's, and it looks as if he's been making over, well, close to 4,000 bets, so he's got charges against him from the SFA. You know, the chairman of the PFA said that, you know, there's lots of people involved in this betting, Ruffy. It's starting to gather pace. More and more people are getting exposed for it.
Yeah, and I think the more people that get exposed will be sending the message out. Well, you would like to think it's sending the message out to everybody else. Don't do it. You know, I mean, that is the line that's put out there. If you don't do it, then you've got nothing to worry about. There obviously are some people who are not listening and are reading the signs, and they'll continually be punished, you know, if that's the way they can carry on.
Yeah, Inverness defender Lewis Horner is also a man who has to face charges, although he has admitted that he needs help as well with this gambling. I mean, it's something now that I think a lot of people know the rules, Stevie. There's a zero tolerance approach to it. Should there be some sort of line in the sand, an amnesty at the moment, and say, okay, we move forward from here, or, you know, because this seems to be a purge going on, and more players and officials are being exposed to it.
It's something they're going to have to clamp down and sort out. It's quite clear from our point of view, and we've been briefed with the unions and the leagues that you can't bet. Unfortunately, it's still out there, you know, and there's a million ways to go and put a bet on now, you know, whether it be online, whether through the bookmaker's door, you know, but there's going to have to be something. You've got Joey Barton in the back of that as well, from down in England. There's going to have to be something to come out, you know, and if people need help, then we have to be shown to support people, you know, but ultimately it's when you get caught putting bets on, you're going to have to face the consequences.
Yeah, I mean, the PFA do indeed do a lot of tremendous work going out and emphasising the perils of getting caught up in this. Is it something that as a manager you would actually speak to the players about before the season, or do you leave that to the authorities?
Normally we'll have a chat before, you know, and we'll get together in pre-season, we'll go through a lot of things, obviously guidelines for the season ahead, what we're looking at, but also we've got an aspect to the social media side as well that the players have to be aware of, and gambling will come under that bracket as well. So we'll brief them, but as you said, the union are spot on with these things. They'll come in maybe twice a year and have a talk to players again, but ultimately, when the players go away, there's not much you can really do about that, you know, and if they got it doing betting, then obviously they're going to face the consequences.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just a couple of other things from those newspaper headlines. Never mind betting. Agents, some say it's a necessary evil for players, Ruffy, but the FIFA are looking into and probing the Paul Pogba deal because of the vast amount of money that seems to have been siphoned off by the agent as a fee. You know, whether it's you know, astronomical figure or not, they're going to look into it. It seems to be an unusually high figure for an agent to get that deal over the line.
Yeah, you hear some horrendous stories when you're talking about players moving for 60 and 70, 80 million. You know, obviously there is an agent involved. Sometimes there's two agents, sometimes there's three agents, and the money is just going round the agents, and I think that's the problem. You know, some people are using it as tax evasion, you know, to give it to the agent or whatever, and not being having to pay for it themselves. So, but I mean, it's just so much money, you know, that you wonder how you can track it all.
Yeah, I would clarify that there's no suggestion that Paul Pogba or his agent are using it for tax evasion. I think the investigation itself is looking into certain aspects of how that deal came together and agents getting such an unusually high figure on it. I mean, since Bosman, some people have suggested that the players have too much power, especially at the top end. I don't think it's as big a problem in Scotland.
Certainly not at our level, it's not, but football's just big business now. You can see the kind of money players earn, the transfer fees, agents' fees. I mean, they'll sign players because they can sell strips. Their name will sell a lot of strips, so it's in high demand now, you know, and when there's money involved and it's the big stakes that's getting talked about, then unfortunately it's potential that the agents are going to earn, and as Ruffy said, it's sometimes the one agent, it could be two or three of them. Yeah,
absolutely. The only downside to it all is sometimes the money goes completely out of the game, Ruffy. It's certainly not going back into the game. You know, huge profits to be made.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is obviously down in England when we're talking about all these players coming in with that money, and I think that's what they're worried about, that there is so much money going out the game down there when it could be going to other things, i.e., you know, talking about setting up gambling things, you know, for the players, setting up injuries for the players, you know, and just using it for here rather than wherever else it goes.
Yep, okay. That's your back page headlines. You might want to give us your thoughts on it at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy as well. Give us your thoughts on the betting scandal, which seems to be going on and on. It's a new name that comes out, you know, more often than not. When does it stop, and are we doing enough on that? As far as the next part of the programme, we're going to hear from the Celtic manager Brendan Brendan Rodgers on that link with the Chelsea player. We'll also get his thoughts on winning the Manager of the Month award for April, and we'll also hear from Jack Ross. He's picked up the Championship Manager of the Month. We'll get Stevie Aitken's thoughts on his fellow manager after this quick break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin, delighted to welcome Stevie Aitken, the Dumbarton boss, here as our boot-room guest. Lots to talk about, including, of course, Dumbarton staying in the Championship and Stevie's plans for next season for the team. Brendan Rodgers picked up the Manager of the Month for April. It was quite a good month for Celtic, securing their 6th successive title, Ruffy. 5-0 win over Hearts at Tynecastle. Of course, the draw with your old side, Partick Thistle. A win against Kilmarnock and a draw against Ross County. And, of course, the big win over Rangers. So I don't think there's any doubt that he was well worthy of the award.
No, and I would hazard a guess that many that he's won this year. You know, it must be, what, 5, 6?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, actually. I think it's his 4th.
4th, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody can any qualms about that. You know, the football that Celtic have been playing is superb, and when they come up into the big games, they have the big players that win them and win them in style, and that's why they've been so good this year.
Yep, the one thing that I think you were well aware of from listening to him on Sunday at the PFA Awards, Stevie, is this attention to detail with individual players, the man management skills that he seems to have with. He's got a great rapport with his players.
He has, and you can see that when they were up for the awards, and every one of his players were up there spoke so highly of him, and I think you can see that reflection with his team's play. I think he's lifted the profile of Scottish game coming up here. You know, he's managed at a top level down in England. You know, and it's only good for Scottish football that we can get people up here. Hopefully he's here to stay for years, because the likes of a young man like myself, we can learn off things that he does. You know, it's certainly good listening to that night. Yeah.
Do you get a chance to, not obviously on a regular basis, obviously little snapshots when you play against certain teams, but do you as a manager get a chance to collectively get to these gatherings of the LMA at times where you know, you can maybe pick their brains, pick the best bits that maybe can enhance your own learning curve? Yeah,
certainly the CPD events that the SFA run, there's a lot of managers invited to that. You know, I get along as many as I can. You know, I pick the phone up to them. I'm not shy to pick the phone up. Derek McInnes has been terrific for over the years at Aberdeen, and I think like any manager, you're learning all the time. If you've been in the game for maybe 20 years, you'll still pick something new up every day. You know, so it's good when you listen to the players, managers like that talking, and you get like Brendan Rodgers talking for what he's done in football. It's you can take something off out of that.
Yeah, and clearly the Celtic manager well pleased to get the award.
It highlights a lot of the really good work that goes on right the way through the club, and I receive it as the manager and as the leader of the football idea of how we're trying to, you know, promote and play the game. So yeah, it's a great reward for everyone that's involved here at Celtic, and like I say, hopefully there's many more.
Yep, 4th of the season for Brendan Rodgers. The one thing that's he always emphasises, this team ethic as well, Ruff. He's keen to promote everybody else for the work they're doing in the background as well. It's not all me.
No, it isn't, and as Stevie said there, you can see when the Celtic players go up to get their trophies, they all seem to be singing for the same hymn sheet. You know, they all seem to be going down the same road, whether it's you know, what the future is ahead or what it is now. You know, they all seem to be focused on exactly what they're doing. Everybody's throwing the Invincibles down, everybody's throwing the treble down, but they're not even talking about it. None of the players, even when you asked them, you know, none of them committed themselves at all. They only focused on the next game, and that's the way he's got them doing it.
No, come on, Ruffy. You know that's a load of baloney, because what they say to press people and what they say behind closed doors is totally different. I mean, they've been sitting there saying to themselves, right, come on. Yeah, you know, there's not many games left, is there?
But the thing about it is, they're not saying it to everybody else.
No.
You know, they're not shouting for the rooftops, you know. we're going to win a treble. It's a doddle. You know, we're going to be invincibles. That's a doddle as well. They're not. They're giving everybody the impression that they're only focused on the next game. And I know in the dressing room, in the training, you know, you will be thinking about it, and the players will be talking about it. But for everybody else, you know, that's the way they're going.
Yeah, big game, Stevie. You do not want the managers to think you've just slipped off the pace. You want to be in for the cup final. You want to be part of that team all the way through to what potentially could be an historic moment.
No doubt, and certainly I think Brendan's brought that. And the good thing that what he's done is when he's also talking, he's not talking about the through season unbeaten. He talk about trebles. It's the next game, but there's no doubt when that dressing room door's locked, he spoke to the players and says, "This is what we want to achieve this year." You know, and they want to go down in history of being that team that does that, and I'm sure they're going to do that.
Yeah, he did talk highly about Dominic Solanke. This is a player that they've been linked with, a young Chelsea player who doesn't seem to be keen to commit himself to Chelsea. You can understand why. Some of the talented players don't want to just disappear off the radar with the millions Chelsea have at their disposal to buy, you know, world-class stars. So I think he's had some work with him before. You know, he certainly alluded to the fact that he'd worked with him when he was a youngster signing at Chelsea. That may well work in his favour.
Yeah, and I think you've just got to look at Scott Sinclair. You know, that is a prime example of a young player getting around 2 or 3 clubs in England, and we've all saw the quality that he's had, but since he's come up here, you know, I would like to think he's a better player, and if that's the kind of player, if you're fortunate enough to identify that they can move on to that level, you look at the boy Roberts again, giving him a chance to get first team football, he's responded, and this might be another young lad as well who's got bags of ability, just needs to be forced out.
Yeah, you mentioned Derek McInnes, Stevie, because quite simply he's the next manager in the line faced with the task of trying to stop Celtic from going through the entire season unbeaten. If anything, I think this might be the last of the big hurdles for them.
It could be. I think Derek said what he's done at Aberdeen over the last number of years has been terrific. You know, he had constantly had them up at challenging Celtic for the league. Cup finals, semi-finals, consistently they're a strong side. They don't give much away. You know, so I think if you look at all the games, this might be the closest one yet. Yeah,
especially Pittodrie on Friday, Ruffy. I mean, Andrew Considine has said, you know, there are 2 chances for Aberdeen in the next 16 days to scupper Celtic's desire to go unbeaten domestically. Yeah,
and I think with the home advantage and the fans behind them, you know, I think obviously Derek, all of his players wound up for this one. You know, every team that Celtic are now coming up against will want to be that team. And that's what we'll be saying to the players. Not that it would be rubbing it in them or anything like that. You just take the game as it comes and go out and try and win it for your own supporters. But I think this will be a hard one, you know. But how many times have we said that with Celtic? How many have we said this is going to be the tough one?
And that's what's been impressive with them as well, that every game they get into, this team will be looking as if the team that's going to beat them. It's the one that's going to break it. And so they're raising their game. The Celtic time and time just raised their game a different bar, you know, and it's been impressive.
Yeah, and again, but you know, I can't underestimate what Derek's managed to do up there. Is basically, I thought last season when he got a bit of criticism for not being able to take it to the wire with a Ronnie Dyler Celtic side, this season I think Aberdeen have stepped up again, you know, and enhanced Derek's profile because the team's far better again.
Yeah, they have. I've been impressed with what they've done. I know Derek's my time at Morton as a player, so it's always good to follow his career in management. And he's getting Aberdeen better and better. The problem he's going to get is he's facing a Celtic team that seems to be going quicker than what they are. But he's recruiting as well already for next season. He's signed talk about Sean Maloney. Going to Aberdeen, that'd be a terrific signing. So no, I think Derek's done a terrific job up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of little transfer stories I want to get your thoughts on, Ruffy, before we get to the Championship and speak to Stevie about Dumbarton. Christophe Berra looks as if Hearts have won the race to get him. Now, that would be, I think, a good signing for him. Is a lad who wants to come home. I think maybe even Ipswich would have looked at keeping him on, but he just wants to come home and home to Hearts. Yeah,
and still a relatively young guy, fit guy, you know, on the fringe of the Scotland squad. I think he was nearly in the Scotland team with the call-offs with the centre-half. So he's still up there. I think it'd be a good signing. Obviously the boy Suter had a bad injury there. You would think the two of them together would be good, and I think that's what Hearts are missing. I think Hearts are missing, you know, people who know what the club's all about. Obviously the new manager went out and brought 7 or 8 people coming in who didn't really get what Hearts meant. So I think to get back to that kind of player will be a good thing for Hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, everybody's watching to see the type of player he's going to bring in and the type of results he's going to deliver. You know, it's been a divisive subject, you know, right across the media and among players and former players about Ian Cathro. You know, at the end of the day, results either will take him on to another level or kill him.
Yeah, management, its result always determine how you're going to go and be, if it's success or failure, and it's fine lines. You know, he's a young guy, he's coached at good clubs, you know, but there's a big difference to coaching and management. You know, I think management, it's all about managing players. You know, and it'll take his time in there, but I think with Craig Levein, they're supporting him. It might take a wee bit of time, but it's about recruiting players, and the turning out players' hearts are probably going to be too much. And there's come a time you've got to try and settle the players' squad that's there and try and work with them, you know, and try and make them better.
Okay, we're going to delve into the Championship. We'll hear from Jack Ross. We'll talk about Morton Dundee United, that first leg playoff match, and we're going to talk Dumbarton next with the manager, Stevie Aitken. If it's your favourite team, might get a wee insight into what's going to happen next season. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show. After that short break, a wee update in the news, and now into the second half of the programme. Stevie Aitken of Dumbarton is with us. There was a playoff last night. Were you surprised by the results, Stevie? Morton 1, Dundee United 2.
We watched the first half, yeah, he probably would have, because Morton were excellent in the first half. They're right in the front foot, put Dundee United have a lot of pressure, you know, and maybe could be another 2 goals up at half time. So at half time you're sitting thinking, well, you can only see one winner, but credit to Dundee United, Drew McKinnon, he changed the shape a wee bit. You know, had a go in the second half, and they got that 2 goals. Yeah,
Ruffy, surprise to you? I thought Morton might, you know, be the team to throw a spanner in the works.
Yeah, that's I said yesterday. I thought a draw would have been a good result for Dundee United. We know Morton had went off the boil there for a wee while, but they got a draw last week, which would have been encouraging them getting into that game. I thought Dundee United would have been happy with a 1 each, obviously taking the next game, but they got that second goal, which makes it even more confident for them.
Yeah, here's my problem with these playoffs. Sometimes when you think it's done and dusted, Stevie, you know, a team comes and surprises you, especially in the second leg.
Yeah, and I think the Morton camp, I think Jim was disappointed in the second half performance last night, but he'll know that the tie's not done. You know, going to Tannadice, so a big support there, which will demand a lot in their players. You know, and if Morton keep that tight, then you've got to fancy Morton maybe to get a goal, and if you can do that, then who knows what can happen.
Yeah, some players and managers have mentioned to me they think it's too many hurdles for the likes of a Dundee United or a Morton to get over to win the ultimate playoff to the Premiership. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. It's geared up for the Premier League team, there's no doubt about that. You know, and you've seen it last year before. Falkirk had a great season, great via playoff games. They put so much in against Hibs over the 2 legs. Then you went to Kilmarnock, they just ran out of legs. You know, and it's difficult with this games Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Friday when it's going to go and be, you know. So, yeah, I think Falkirk will be glad they got second place. We'll give them that wee bit extra breathing space that if they do get to it, they'll be better equipped.
Yep, and of course, everybody was battling to try and avoid the bottom place in the Championship as well. Stevie managed to do it with Dumbarton. Jack Ross certainly pulled off the great escape with St Mirren in mind. He won the Championship Player of the Month. I don't think too many people would be unhappy with it, Ruffy. I mean, he's been viewed in Paisley as the miracle worker.
Yeah, I think the last the last couple of months has been fantastic if you're a St Mirren supporter, and it just shows you how football changes. I remember when Jack had just went in there and there was a game in particular, I don't know what it was, and he was actually in the crowd with the supporters. Yeah, that's right. He actually went into the supporters and said, look, just hang fire here, you know, we're just beginning to change things round, just stay with us. And he's come up good, and I'm sure the supporters will be more than happy for him to come into the ground again and have a chat with them.
Yeah, he took a bit of stick for that, Stevie, at the time.
He did. I remember it came back for a game and people were talking about it because it was a lot about the news. We don't know what happened at the time. He was in the crowd and it was like kind of coming together. But I think at that point it was St Mirren being a huge club that they are, and the expectation levels. Jack had been in there for a while and it still wasn't going the way they wanted it. But you know what I mean, credit to him for what he done. You know what I mean, he certainly made my job a lot harder because at one point I think a lot of teams thought that they were away.
Yeah.
You know, and he's turned it around. You know, and fair play to him for what he done there.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's even managed to build a few bridges with the fans as well.
That relationship between supporters and the players and the staff and everybody associated with the clubs has grown, and you need that at a football club. You know, there was a disconnect, not just here, I think at other clubs as well. You have to build that. It's not easy. I think you have to sometimes put your neck on the line to do that and make yourself available for not just communication, for criticism as well, because that will come, and I think I've done that consistently through my time here, and I wanted to build it. I'm delighted with how we've started to do that. I think we can still make it better. But certainly everybody, that's the letters and emails that I receive from supporters, there's a general optimism around the club for the first time in a few years, and that's a great starting point.
Does anybody write letters nowadays, Robbie? Obviously they do. We actually get letters, but they're usually giving us pelters.
When we get letters, we slowly open them up.
Nevertheless, he has managed to turn it around. Yeah. But I think the biggest problem, we're going to touch on it now with Stevie at Dumbarton, the biggest problem is the special players that he had, you know. People are starting to look at some of those players, you know, your Kyle McGuinness, your Lewis Morgan, your Stevie Mallon. Yeah,
I mean, you just have to look at what he did in January. They made a big decision to sell the young boy and get some money in. They let the boy Naismith go up north, and these were two big decisions, because you would have thought, oh, they're two big players, but obviously he had something in his mind to bring more experienced players in to get them out of the position they're in. Sometimes you need a different kind of player, and that's what he did, and it worked for him. But as you said, he's got 2 or 3 special players in that side.
Yeah, and if they're heading out the door, the manager said he has got his own targets to get in.
Well, I think that in the grander scheme of things, we need to have bigger ambitions than just staying in the league for St Mirren. However, given the way the season panned out, given where we were at the turn of the year, and not so long ago, it was a target of ours just to maintain our status in the Championship. We've done that, and doing it with the avoidance of the playoffs is a big bonus as well, because it gives us an extra 2 weeks of preparation, 2 weeks of rest, so that's an added bonus, if you like. Well, when I took the job in mid-October last year, I said that this club should aim to be back in the Premiership. It was here, it was in that league when I was here as a player. The structure of the club, stadium, training ground, fan base, all points to that, so that will remain the ambition. It's not changed. I said it's not a celebration of us achieving 7th in the Championship, but it's more about, so we got the job done from where we were, and it's now about making sure we try and take the club back to where I feel it should be and where I want to take it, and that will certainly be the aim from day one of pre-season.
Well, he wants to take St Mirren back to the Premiership, and as he said there, the main aim was just to stay in the Championship so that they could try and achieve that goal. You know, when I look at Dumbarton, I think it's absolutely remarkable what you achieved as well, Stevie, because I think at one point, and I'm going to hold my hands up here, Ruffy, I thought, you know, St Mirren and yourselves would be the bottom 2 there. You look at the budget, you look at the predicament they were in, you look at the budget that you have to try and keep them there.
Yeah, it's always going to be a struggle with Dumbarton. They've been just for the part-time situation we've got at the club, you know, and we get players together for maybe 3 hours a week at the most. They've all got jobs, so sometimes they'll get held up and they can't get to training. So we knew it was difficult. We knew the budget that we've got was the lowest in the division. We knew that, but we had to make sure we recruited the right players, you know. And I'm grateful we get a guy, Stuart Miller, working for me, that we go out there and we work really hard to make sure we get the right players, and certainly this year we've done that. Yeah,
has it been the biggest test of your career as a manager, just this whole season, knowing how difficult it was going to be with your budget?
Yeah, when the 2 clubs that come up as well, obviously last year was great, my first season in the Championship, when we stayed up, you know, we obviously lost Alloa and Livingston, but the 2 clubs come up with Dunfermline, we knew that what they've got behind them, they were going to be strong. When you United, with Ian McCall, they come up the back of the playoff win, that the momentum was with them, and they're potentially a huge club as well. So we knew we were going to be stuck bottom in terms of what we could really offer players. So we had to make sure we're competitive. We've done that, you know, we picked up some terrific points along the way. And I mean, we took I think 7 points at Dundee United, we 2 each at Easter Road as well. And overall, it was it's huge success to everybody at the club, you know, and credit goes to players, because it's week in, week out, they get knocked, you know, but they just keep on going.
Yeah, I've got to ask you, is there a sense of, you mentioned the clubs that you've taken points off. I mean, I thought the point against Dundee United a couple of weeks ago was huge.
It was, especially the kicking off later. Yeah, we knew St Mirren at that point won 5-0 over the Rovers. We knew between the last two games we had to get a point from somewhere. For long spells of the game, we looked as if we only get 3 points. We were terrific. The players were great, but we're going to places, Easter Road, Tannadice, Falkirk, doing really well. And for a club that's part-time and with small budget, small resources, and we need to have a lot of satisfaction from that.
Yeah, and last game of the season, Ruffy, you're just looking, you could have picked, you're starting to throw a dart on the board to see who's going to come up and come a cropper.
I think if Stevie's honest enough, I think everybody, all the other clubs will be looking at Dumbarton saying, look, they're the team.
Yeah.
You know, if we can take points off of them, they look as if they're going to be down there. But all credit to Stevie, and we sit here on a Saturday, obviously watching the scores coming in, and as Stevie said, there's been lots of big games when all of a sudden it's Dumbarton 1, whoever it is, nothing. You know, and you have to give the players credit for getting into these games and responding and lifting their game.
Well, you mentioned that it's hard because you only get to see them for a small amount of time because you're part-time. Is the most difficult part of your job organising them for the Saturday, or is it trying to motivate on an individual basis players that you hope have got something?
Yeah, I think in the Championship we've been full-time, all these clubs, and I mean, they will spend every day in the structure, the way they're going to play. So I think first we have to be organised into a system that's going to suit our players in this game. So we're organised in that way, and a lot of time you'll be playing a counter-attack because teams will hold the ball at it, you know, so work hard on that. For me, it's the environment has to be key. You know, it has to be a good environment. The players want to come and enjoy their training. They want to know that they're going to get looked after. We do a lot of things away from the park, like put food on after training. We'll carry them out in suits to go to the games. So there's wee things that they enjoy the environment they're in. If you can do that, it's a wee bit like management. The rest of it's a wee bit easier. Because players know how to play. I mean, players that we get in this year played at a good level. Darren Barr, for example, he knows how the game is. So everything has to be right, you know, and if you're getting that right, you've got a chance. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I tell you, full marks to you at keeping Dumbarton in the Championship. We'll maybe get a chat with you after this quick break on the ambitions for the new season, because you have to come up with a few players as well. There's a problem that managers face every summer. We'll give you the answer to this question as well. I was going to say to you, Ruffy, that I think 12 is not too far away. But then again, I watched Juventus last night, and I think I'm ready to change my mind. I think I'm going to go with Juventus to beat Real Madrid in the final. What do you make of that?
Well, if that was to happen, I would say it would be 1-0. Because if you let them score, you know, if you let them score, you're up in an uphill battle there, possibly. And we all know about the Italians, you know, whether it's the national side or whatever, but defensively they're so well organised and they are ruthless, and they let you know that you're in a game. And if that was the case, that they were to score, I think it would be a tough one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was watching the match last night, Stevie, and I thought to myself, okay, I mean, defensively, absolutely rock solid, even though you know, Monaco managed to get one, albeit a consolation, but going forward as well, quick, ruthless, you know, great passing, some really good technically gifted players, and then when you've got Higuain up there and Mandzukic, you're always guaranteed a goal.
I think Ruffy says that any Italian team over the years, we always knew that defensively they were sound. We spoke earlier about this, and we never really thought Juventus at the start would be there to go and win it, but I'm with you, and I think they will. I think if you're going to win this competition, you're going to need to keep forward players at bay, like Ronaldo. Well, they've already done it with Messi.
Yeah.
And I think, as you say, going forward, they'll score goals. So, yeah, I think for me, they will win it.
And as you know, Stevie, you know, football world is always, when you've got friendships or acquaintances, there's always an element of fairness in it. The reason I mention that to you is because Ruffy and myself have a bet on at the moment, and I bet him that Moussa Dembele would score 40 goals, but obviously there was an injury in there that derailed me. And my producer just mentioned to me, maybe it was a good idea that we go for a kind of a, you know, your double or quits, Ruffy, which we managed to do last season as well. And I was thinking, I'm giving you Real Madrid to win the Champions League, and I'll say it's Juventus.
Okay, so if I win, I get taken to 2 restaurants.
Well, there's certainly 2 bottles of wine on the table.
Okay, I'll go for that.
Are you going for that?
Yes, I'll go for
that.
that.
I mean, that is complete and utter lunacy. That's good enough for me. Stevie, I can't believe he's given me.
No, I'm surprised at myself actually, but he's very generous today.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, UV. Yeah, it's a strange one, Ruffy. I must admit, you've actually caught me. You've got me on the hop with that. Just on I mentioned to you before the break, Stevie, about the summer. It's a difficult time for players. Certainly, you know, when we look at the Premier League, big money moves. But in Scotland, lots of managers, the greater majority of managers are wondering, we're going to lose players. Now we have to go and try and recruit them. I think that's the most difficult part. And certainly for you, it must be tremendously stressful.
It is, and especially back in a successful season, and it's been a success at Dumbarton Championship, there's no doubt about that. But what that does right away is it attracts attention to your players from other clubs. We've lost 2 already, in terms of Robert Thompson, Andy Stirling. They've went to Queen and South and Morton. We've 5 loan players go back, so right away in one scoop, half the squad's away.
Well, I was going to say to you, Thompson must be a blow because he's a goal scorer. You know, we're talking about, you know, Rangers are looking for Pedro Caixinha's going to recruit players. Joe Gardner hasn't scored the goals that 1.8 million on an outlay I think the manager would have been looking at. There's Liam Boyce, goal scorer. You know, he'll be someone that I think that some of the top clubs will be looking at. Finding goal scorers can be the difference between staying in your job as a manager and getting the bullet.
Yeah, it's the fine lines we're talking about. Robert Thompson, we got him in from Brecon, and got him for a part-time level, got him back playing full-time football. So, yeah, that's the lines you're talking about. Liam Boyce, I mean, for me, I mean, he could have been nominated for the player of the year for what he's done there.
Yeah.
Getting 20-odd goals for Ross County, and Jim McIntyre, no thank me, but I would imagine he'd been aimed there with some big clubs, and they were doing well to hold on to him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's the one player that I think some of the clubs, Aberdeen especially, because they tend to whip a few boys from either Inverness or Ross County over.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think if any of the SPFL teams are looking at a striker and they've got the money to take him, it'd be an addition. You've got to throw Hearts into that equation as well.
Yeah.
You know, even Hibs. You know, Hibs have let Keaton's go and Cummins don't know what he's going to be doing with himself. So yeah, I mean, he's the kind of player. I was going to ask Stevie, we've had a lot of players in, you know, part-time players, guys who have decided that they're maybe not going to make it full-time with a big team, and now they're making a decision of, I maybe need to get a job plus part-time. Is that an advantage to you, that kind of player?
It is, because at some point, I mean, in Scotland, half the teams are part-time, you know, so at some point players are going to fall into this kind of part-time team. Financially, sometimes, believe it or not, if they're actually better off with a job and going part-time, because the money obviously is getting tighter and tighter. You know, so yeah, it's difficult because everybody wants to be full-time football. Players are the same. Players don't really want to get down that road being part-time, but unfortunately, that's what happens. You know, players, managers as well. We'd all have to be full-time managers, but you know, but half the jobs in Scotland are going to be part-time, so at some point you fall into them. But yeah, it's difficult that that's the case as well. Yeah,
what's the ambition for you next season, Stevie? Because I think a number of chairmen up and down the country look at the potential of managers and what they've been able to do on a specific budget, and to keep Dumbarton in the Championship. I think some chairmen will look and think, well, you may be worth a second look, but I presume from your point of view, you've just got to try and focus on recruiting. And is it just staying in the Championship again is the remit?
Ultimately, it's got to be. But love to maybe try and take it on a wee bit, you know. But to do that, you're going to have to have your squad consistently, 12, 13 players, just adding 2 or 3. I said earlier, we'll lose half the players. I'll probably maybe left by the end of the week, maybe 7 players going for next season. So, yeah, it's a rebuilding job again. You know, it's like everything else. We would all love to manage at top level. I'm not indifferent from anybody else, and if any manager says no, they're not ambitious, then they probably shouldn't win the game. You know, but I love what I do. Dumbarton's a really good club, you know, and I'm just happy with what I do there. Yeah, of course, the key thing is you've got to have somebody to want you. I mean, there's Paul Hartley, you know, riding high. You know, his CV was looking good. Ruffy loses 2 strikers at the start of the season. Dundee can't escape this slip. And suddenly he's out of a job, although I noticed today he was being linked with a return, maybe if Inverness are looking for a manager in the summer.
depending on what happens with Richie Thornton.
Yeah, I think the problem is for the managers when they're out of a job. There's so many other managers out of a job, you know, and every time we hear of a vacancy coming up, we hear about 40 candidates, you know. So you want to be in a job rather than out of it, because sometimes you can just drift out for a while and people forget about you. I mean, there's a lot of bigger managers been out there for a long time, a year, 18 months, and a lot of them say, well, I'm just waiting till the right job comes along, but sometimes you can wait too long. So if you get the chance, I think you want to take it.
Yeah, well, he's a barrel of laughs for you for the summer, isn't it? Stevie, I just wanted to say, just in case anybody was thinking about it, if you're going to be out of a job, it could be a long time, according to Ruffy. Okay, do you think, just for the two games, get your predictions on it, do you think Aberdeen are the team to stop Celtic on Friday?
Yeah, at home you would look at that game, but again, I think Celtic are so strong in reserve. I don't think what team he puts out there, they'll make sure it's not going to happen.
Stevie?
Yeah, I think if there's only one team it would do, it would be Aberdeen, especially their own back garden. So, yeah, big ask for Derek McInnes' team, you know, and they'll have to play well to beat them.
Yep, I've got to ask you before we go, you mentioned you've only got 7 players left. Have you already had the Dumbarton team night out?
I was going to wait for the next couple of weeks. I'm in the first round, so we'll wait.
The club's decided to take them away to Malaga, so the 7 are staying.
We've had the players have enjoyed their wee break-up night, as they call it. You know, they've been terrific. You know, and we'll go back to it tomorrow and try and get a squad going again.
Okay, listen, I don't want to talk about betting with regards to managers or players, but one punter put a £10 accumulator on Ruffy. He's just bagged 60 grand. He had Newcastle, Sheffield United, Portsmouth, Celtic, Hibs, Livingston and Arbroath to win the league. Yeah. Good going.
And we can't even get 2 right.
Yeah, I was just about to say that is absolutely summing it up perfectly. Thanks to Stevie Aitken. We wish you at Dumbarton all the very best for next season. Great achievement staying in the Championship. Well done to all the lads at Dumbarton as well. Congratulations to Jack Ross and to Brendan Rodgers winning the Manager of the Month awards, and Liam Boyce for the Player of the Month. Well, I'll leave you tonight with this show dedicated to a friend of Ruffy and myself. He was a former teacher at Hutchie. Quite a number of people will know Sandy Strang. He was on the after-dinner circuit. He was a man who seemed to have the vocabulary that even Stephen Fry would have been proud of. He sadly passed away, and I'm going to dedicate this programme to him. He was a fantastic raconteur, and I spoke with him on many occasions, and he will be greatly missed. This one for Sandy. Thanks to Steve, thanks to Ruffy, and from myself, Peter, good night.